and welcome to Weekly Cooking with Becky. Today we are going to call this Becky's Test Kitchen. I am actually going to make a recipe as I go, and here's why. I have this stuff here called Arthur's, and it's keto wheat flour, so this is not gluten-free, but it is a 1-to-1 substitute for all-purpose flour. It was given to me as a birthday gift. Today is my birthday, so this is my test kitchen, aka hopefully my birthday dessert for tonight when our family eats supper. Fingers crossed. So 1-to-1 for all-purpose flour. You can take any recipe you ever grew up with and you can swap it and make it work. So that's what we're gonna do. So I went looking through an old cookbook and I found, those of you guys that have been watching my channels not like me and my brownies. So there is a brownie recipe that I have not had in over 4 years. It's been my favorite and I have been literally waiting to recreate it. Just waiting. Well, I don't want a 13x9 pan of it. I no longer need that much. So I'm taking the recipe and I'm just cutting it in half, but I'm going to simply sub this. And for the sweetener, I'm going to use King Arthur's baking sugar alternative, also gifted to me. 0 aftertaste, 0 net carbs. And it uses erythritol, allulose, monk fruit, and stevia. So those are the blends in here, but supposedly 0 aftertaste and a 0 net carb. So we're gonna be making this dirty, lazy keto, totally low carb, but there is gluten. All right, I'm just gonna speak the recipe. If you click on more, it will be in there. We really don't know if it's gonna turn out until it's baked. So this is where it's a test kitchen. So in the recipe, it calls for a half of it. I'm halving everything. If you want a 13x9, just double what I'm saying. So a half of a cup of, they say margarine, butter. We're going to be legit here. 6 ounces of chocolate chips melted. You're gonna need a food scale. Lily's Bake Believe, they don't come in 6-ounce bags. You're gonna need a food scale, melt them. Half a teaspoon of vanilla, 1 cup sugar sweetener of choice. That part you can probably do whatever. That's optional, 1/4 cup if you want to stir those in or sprinkle on top. 2 eggs and 1 cup. This is where, if this recipe works, you're gonna want this. 1 cup of King Arthur's keto wheat flour. It's a 1-to-1 substitute for all-purpose flour. If this works. All right, here we go. Test kitchen coming. All right, so in here, I already have the flour and the sugar, and I have just simply mixed. So now we just have to add our liquids and get going. So take this knife out, move it off to the side. Oh, I got to disinfect anyways. So I'm gonna scrape in all this melted chocolate. So that's just more sweetening. So you've got your sweetener plus you got your melted chocolate chips. When I was growing up, I loved this because these were literally the chewiest brownies. And by the way, they need no refrigeration. So if this works, guys, oh my land. So we are just gonna cross our fingers. When we are done, I will say you dust them with powdered sugar or powdered sweetener. I have powdered swerve here that I will dust them with. So if you have a large gathering, yes, go for the 13x9. I just wanna try and even see if it works. So you would use either an 8x8 or a 9x9 pan. So I've got the chocolate, half a cup butter, melted, half a teaspoon of vanilla, which is half a capful. Try not to dirty too many dishes. I just want this to be a good dessert tonight. And Normally calls for 4, so 2 eggs. And I'm gonna break them into this bowl. I don't like breaking eggs directly into the dish if I don't have to. I had one bad egg once, and that's all it took. 1. Yeah. Alrighty. Guys, and pierce those yolks. This should be a fairly liquid batter, very chocolatey batter. I remember what it looked like. I remember these brownies. This was on recurrence in my husband and I's house. This was one of those that once I got a hold of this recipe, it just stayed in our home. And I would bring it to like Bible studies or get-togethers because it would go. So far I will say batter-wise, I'm liking what I see. Okay, that's a good sign. Okay. Coming up nice like a brownie batter. Hopefully you guys can kind of see that. Trying to, I always tilt it the wrong way on the camera. There we go. All right, so now you're gonna pour it into a greased pan. Just trying to get everything off my fork. So not many ingredients, guys. Okay, I already greased my pan earlier. I am gonna just, because I'm nervous, give one more light spray, because when you're substituting and it works like all-purpose flour, I should not need the parchment paper trick. We can supposedly just cut right out of here. I don't know, guys, game changer, maybe. It's been something I've been wanting to try, and I was always so nervous, and then a friend brought it over, and I'm like, yes, I know exactly what I'm going to try for my first recipe. All right. Yes, try to make sure you guys can see that, okay? Well, it smells good. Has that consistency. So far I like what I see. Not gonna know too much till later. But so far, I'm liking it. Just trying to make sure it's even as I go across, because it is a thick batter. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. All right, one of the rules with this recipe, cook 30 minutes. So it says put in for 30 minutes, no longer, no longer. You gotta keep it chewy, okay? And then you're gonna let it cool. You don't sprinkle it with the powdered sugar until it's cool, because otherwise it's gonna sink down in here. So this is one of those ones that you don't taste test until you got it cool. So it'll be a while before I'm back here, but I'm gonna cook it 30 minutes, pull it right out, let it completely cool. My trick on powdered sweetener is I put a little bit into an old teaspoon, what do you call it? Fresh grated tea, people that make real tea and they use tea leaves. I put a little bit in one of those, and I just take the spoon and I tap it over, and it makes it look really pretty on top. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then we are gonna see whether or not this is a legit replacement. I'll see you back here in a little bit. Okay, so I have gone ahead and cook the brownies. I will tell you that I actually pulled them out at 25 minutes instead of 30. So little fluctuation there. It was always 30 with the original recipe. I pulled them out at 25, let them cool. They've got the powdered sugar. Give you a good close up. All right, so this is where I find out whether or not it lives up to the hype. Here we go. It's chewy. That was a really good brownie. That was a really, really good brownie. It has the exact same flavor of the original brownie from many years ago that I absolutely fell in love with. What I will say is I do believe 1-to-1 would work. I might go 20 minutes because the way I remember it was a little fudgier. So I think you can absolutely replace it 1-for-1, but pull back on the baking time a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and post the recipe. And even though I mentioned cook 30 minutes, no longer, when you see that it's fudgy, like fudgy to the touch, but it will hold, take it out. I took this one out at 25. There's a good chance you could probably take it out at 20. The cool thing about this one is you don't need the parchment paper. You can store it on your counter probably for a good 3 to 4 days because it's substituted that way. So it doesn't have what the almond flours and the coconut flours have. So you'll be able to store it on the counter, which is great. And it has an amazing flavor. So it is great. It is definitely something I'm looking forward to baking with more often. I'm gonna try some Toll House recipes, but substitute with this and the lilies and things like that. I definitely see myself experimenting with the Keto Arthur baking blend. So that's my review on that using this brownie recipe. I definitely think if you want to take out some old recipes, pull out an old recipe and use it. As for this recipe, this goes back to my childhood. I will put it in the comments for you. And of course it is dirty, but at the same time, it is delicious. All right, see you next time. Bye.